Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You know, those late night rabbit holes you go down reading about the Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're doing today. But with expert guidance,
Right.
we're diving into a recent article to figure out, is this the year they finally make a deep playoff run?
Well, to answer that, we need to look at the pieces of the puzzle.
Okay.
How are the players performing? What's the coaching style like? And how does it all fit together?
Right. Let's start with a name on everyone's mind, Mitch Marner. It's a contract year.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, he's not just coasting.
He's playing like a man possessed. Remember last year? When Nylander was in the same situation,
Yeah.
he ended up with a career year and a hefty new contract. Now we're seeing Marner echo that.
Yeah.
22 points in just 18 games.
Wow.
If he keeps this pace, he's on track for his first 100-point season.
Okay, but how is he doing it? Is this just a point streak?
Mm.
Or has his game actually elevated?
It's the way he's racking up those points that's so impressive. You see him making smarter plays, creating more high-danger chances. He's not just relying on raw talent anymore. He's thinking ahead, anticipating his opponent's moves. And this is all while shouldering a larger leadership role with Matthews out injured.
Wow, so he's really stepping up, both on and off the ice.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, he's about to hit 200 NHL goals
Oh, yeah.
and 600 career games.
That's right.
What does this kind of performance say about his contract negotiations?
Well, he's certainly putting himself in a strong position. He's demonstrating his value to the team, not just with points, but with leadership.
Yeah.
And resilience. It'll be interesting to see how this translates at the bargaining table.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we've got a player who just broke a pretty frustrating scoring slump. Bobby McMann.
Ah, yes, McMann. That game against the Capitals was something else.
Oh, yeah.
8 shots on goal, a career high.
Wow.
And he'd been leading the team in shots the game before, too.
Really?
He could tell he was hungry for a goal.
And he finally got it. Even in his post-game interview, you could see the relief mixed with that pure joy of scoring.
Yeah, that goal wasn't just luck, though. When he's on the ice with Tavares and Marner, that whole line's energy shifts. Suddenly, they're controlling the puck, setting up in the offensive zone, and generating those high-danger chances.
Speaking of high-danger chances, let's talk about a player who hasn't been generating many of those lately. Nick Robertson. He's getting more ice time under Coach Berube,
Right.
but it seems like he's struggling to find his footing.
This is where it gets really interesting. Robertson's always had that raw talent,
Yeah.
but consistency has been his Achilles heel. 1 goal in 15 games is a far cry from his potential.
And his shooting percentage has taken a nosedive compared to last season. Plus, he's been a healthy scratch even with key players injured, which speaks volumes.
Yeah, Berube's a demanding coach. He's all about that gritty, playoff-style hockey. If you're not delivering, you're sitting.
Yeah.
Remember, Robertson requested a trade in the offseason? If his performance doesn't pick up, we could see Treliving revisit that option.
Okay, so we've got Marner firing on all cylinders, McMann finding his groove, and Robertson facing an uphill battle. But what about the Leafs' defense overall? That's
Right.
got to be a key factor in their playoff aspirations.
Absolutely.
Right.
And here's where things get really intriguing. The Leafs' defense might be their secret weapon this season.
Okay.
They have so much depth. That is a solid, reliable player like Simon Benoit is a healthy scratch.
Wow. And then you've got Yanni Hakanpää making his season debut and immediately impressing, even earning praise from Coach Berube.
That kind of depth on defense is a luxury most teams don't have.
Yeah.
It means they can withstand injuries, keep their top guys fresh, and even experiment with different pairings to see what works best.
It's almost like they're playing 3D chess back there.
Okay.
So we've got a high-powered offense led by Marner, a scrappy depth scorer in McMann, and a rock-solid defense. But what's the missing piece? What do they need to finally make a deep playoff run?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They've been contenders for years, but they always seem to hit a wall in the playoffs.
Right.
Maybe it's mental, maybe it's a lack of experience, or maybe it's a specific weakness that gets exposed.
Let's talk about Coach Berube. He's known for his demanding playoff-style approach.
Right.
How is that style shaping the Leafs game this season?
Well, Berube's not a coach who coddles his players. He pushes them hard, holds them accountable, and demands that they compete every shift. You see that intensity in their practices, their puck battles, their overall commitment to defense.
And remember, he was brought in specifically to take them to the next level, to break through that playoff barrier.
Yeah.
So is it working? Are we seeing that playoff-style hockey translate to the regular season?
There are definitely signs of it. Their penalty kill is more aggressive. They're blocking more shots, and they're winning those tough, gritty battles along the boards. But the real test will come in the playoffs, when the pressure's on and the stakes are higher.
So are you saying that the Leafs are becoming a more defensively sound team under Berube?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's a crucial ingredient for playoff success. You can't just outscore your opponents in the playoffs. You need to be able to shut them down, win those low-scoring games, and grind out victories.
All right, let's look ahead a bit. The Leafs have a relatively light schedule coming up.
Okay.
3 games in 13 days.
Yeah.
All at home.
All right.
Is this a chance for them to regroup and fine-tune their game?
Absolutely. This is a valuable opportunity to work on their system, build chemistry, and maybe even experiment with some line combinations.
But they've got Connor McDavid and the Oilers coming to town.
Oh, yeah.
That's always a must-watch game.
The Battle of Alberta on Ontario ice, it's going to be electric. McDavid's a one-man highlight reel, so the Leafs will need to be at their best defensively to contain him.
And after that, they've got a brutal December schedule.
Oh.
12 games in 23 days.
Oh.
Talk about a test of their depth and endurance.
That's where Berube's demanding coaching style comes in. He's already instilled a work ethic and a sense of urgency in this team. They're not going to back down from a challenge.
So circling back to that million-dollar question, do the Leafs have what it takes to make a deep playoff run this year?
They have the pieces. Offensive firepower, defensive depth, a demanding coach who's shaping them into a playoff-caliber team. But there are still question marks.
Like what?
Can their goaltending hold up under pressure? Can they stay healthy? And most importantly, can they conquer those mental demons that have haunted them in the past?
Which brings us back to Treliving and the trade deadline. He's got some tough decisions to make.
He does.
Does he stick with the current roster and bank on their development? Or does he make a move to address a perceived weakness?
He's in a tough spot. Every move he makes will be scrutinized. Does he go for a big-name scorer to bolster the offense? Does he try to land a veteran defenseman to solidify the blue line? Or does he target a reliable backup goalie to give them some insurance?
It's like a high-stakes poker game. He needs to assess his hand, read his opponents, and make the right bet at the right time.
And whatever he decides, it's going to have a ripple effect on the team's chemistry, their salary cap, and their overall playoff chances. It's fascinating to watch it all unfold.
It really is a fascinating puzzle, isn't it? Trying to predict what Treliving will do at the deadline.
Oh, for sure.
But let's not forget about Nick Robertson. We were talking earlier about his struggles this season. If his performance doesn't improve, could that force Treliving's hand?
That's a great question. And it adds another layer of complexity to the trade deadline equation. If Robertson continues to underperform, Treliving might feel pressured to move him while he still has some trade value.
So it's almost like Treliving is juggling multiple scenarios here. He's got to consider the team's immediate needs, their long-term goals, and the potential trade value of his assets.
Precisely. And let's not forget about the salary cap implications. Every move he makes has to fit within their budget. It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
And he's got to make sure he doesn't mortgage the future for short-term gains.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of trades and potential acquisitions. But what about the impact on team chemistry? Bringing in a new player can disrupt the dynamics, especially if it's a big personality. Or a star player.
That's a valid point. You can't just throw a bunch of talented players together and expect instant chemistry. There's a human element to it, and sometimes those intangible factors can make or break a team's playoff run.
So what's the answer? What should Treliving prioritize? Scoring depth, defensive stability, goaltending insurance.
There's no easy answer, and that's what makes it so compelling. It all depends on how the next few months unfold. If the Leafs continue to dominate offensively, maybe they just need a minor tweak on defense.
Okay.
But if their goaltending becomes a liability, that could become their top priority.
So to wrap things up, what are the key takeaways from our deep dive into the Leafs?
Well, we've seen that Mitch Marner is playing at an elite level, demonstrating his value to the team beyond just points on the scoreboard.
And Bobby McMann's emergence gives the Leafs some much-needed scoring depth, adding another dimension to their offensive attack.
Nick Robertson's struggles highlight the challenges of player development and the difficult decisions that GMs face at the trade deadline.
And the Leafs' defensive depth is a major asset, giving them a solid foundation for a potential playoff run.
But the biggest question remains, can they translate their regular season success into playoff glory? That's the ultimate test, and it's one that will be fascinating to watch unfold.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about, but there's one thought that lingers in my mind. If this truly is the year the Leafs break through that playoff barrier, what will be the defining moment? What will be the image that we all remember years from now?
Will it be Marner hoisting the Stanley Cup, McMann scoring the game-winning goal in a pivotal playoff game, or maybe it'll be a collective effort, a testament to their resilience and determination?
Only time will tell, so Leafs fans, keep your eyes on the ice because this season promises to be one for the ages.